Hi, my name is Christina Curry, and I am the founder of Sprout Creative. We work with small business owners and entrepreneurs who are feeling overwhelmed with their marketing, busy running their businesses, and maybe their growth has plateaued. And we turn their marketing into a manageable, automated, and stress free machine. I am so excited today to talk about repurposing content. I can't talk enough about how important it is, how valuable it is, and how fun I hope I can make it for you. So let's get into it from exhausted to empowered, revitalizing your marketing with repurposed content. So I want to take a moment and pause here and put your phone away. You showed up and hit play on this video, and maybe you've got the worksheet in front of you. So really be present and take this time to reinvest in yourself and in your company. I'm covering a whole bunch of stuff in this training, and I want to make sure that you get it all and that you walk away with tangible ideas that you can implement right away, and I know you will. So why are you here? Maybe you're feeling like you're struggling to generate that content for social media or email or blog post, and you've just spent hours creating a new content idea and got it out there into the world, and it received little attention. And that can be really disheartening. You might be feeling burned out by what content to post on social media. And everyone else seems to have a never ending flow of content. Why don't you? What are you doing differently? And maybe it's none of those questions, but just know that you're in the right place. I've got you, and we're going to answer those and more. So, again, my name's Christina Cray. I've been doing marketing for over 12 plus years. In early 2019, I realized that all these amazing and talented entrepreneurs around me had gifts to share, but no clue how to actually market themselves. So I decided to quit the corporate life of marketing, the marketing corporate life, and helping one company and really begin to help a lot more people. And I honestly have not looked back. It's been so rewarding seeing my clients grow their business through smart marketing strategies. And some have even started to like marketing, and that is a solid win for me. All right, are you ready? So, the purpose of repurposing, why? Why even repurpose content? It's an efficient use of your ideas. Honestly, you guys have really, really good ideas. And repurposing it is a really efficient way to use that. And it's not just a one and done and then that's it and you move on to the next thing. There are so many great ideas out there that you've already done. Why not share it? And repurposing saves you so much time because you can skip the process of staring at that blank screen, trying to, write the next email or figure out the next social media post and just do the same thing you've already done. We'll get into that. You know, Another thing that I think a lot of my clients feel really weird about this of repeating themselves. But I got to tell you, it's counterintuitive feeling like you're repeating yourself. And it's actually a good thing. It really creates that sticky factor. And I'll touch more on this in just a minute. But people absorb information different ways too. And so some prefer maybe to watch a video, others want to scroll Instagram, others just want to receive the information directly through email. So having these different ways that you're saying kind of the same thing is really helpful for people to catch what you're trying to say, depending on how they consume their information. And it reaches a new audience. That way, if they're just over there on your email and nowhere else, and you're only talking to people on Instagram about one thing, they're completely missing what you've got. So reformatting things for different purposes and different mediums can really appeal to an audience and extend your reach even further. So I want to touch on rule of seven. Sometimes people call it a rule of 5 or a rule of 3. In my marketing school, when I learned marketing, it was a rule of 7. And I really feel like this is super accurate. So it's repetition is so important in marketing. And like I just mentioned earlier, it might feel like you're repeating yourself, but it's actually an okay thing. So this is called the marketing rule of 7. And it really states that potential clients need to hear your message about 7 times before they will take that action. And that action could be, downloading that freebie, registering that webinar, or finally hiring you. I've had people on my email list for years before they finally are like, okay, I've gotten your emails. They've been helpful, but it's only taking me so far. I'm just going to hire you. Rather than covering a topic once and then just letting it disappear into the archives, repurposing your content to consistently deliver your message can really deliver that message. It isn't too much to your audience. It might really feel, and this is a pushback I get from my clients. It feels like I'm saying the same thing over again. No one is paying attention to what you're doing as much as you're paying attention to what you're doing. So it might feel like you're repeating, but I got to tell you, the attention span, no one's going to know that you posted that same thing just as a video, 2 weeks ago. And now you're posting it, let's say, as a static post. No one's paying attention that much to you. I'm sorry to tell to break your bubble. Okay, so let's move on to who. And this is key. You really need to understand who your ideal client is. This is foundational for any marketing efforts you ever do. And you must understand who it is that you're talking to, where they're hanging out, and how and what is it that they want to hear from you. So the more potential clients think that you're speaking to them, the more that they will be able to start listening. And I want to really emphasize how important this piece is. I have some resources on my website at sproutcreativela.com. I've kind of perfected this process of really diving deep into who your ideal client is and what they respond to, and how to find them right at that moment where they're like, okay, I think I need marketing help. Who can I reach out to? And they think of Sprout Creative, or they think of you. So check it out on sproutcreativela.com. But let's keep moving forward. So first, understanding who your ideal client is, and then what content are you going to go back and repurpose? So I want you to think about something literally right now, today. What are you going to go back and repurpose? And I think it'll be easier having this piece of content in your head as we move through this webinar today. And by the end of it, you're going to know all the different ways you can take that one piece of content and turn it into 20. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. So I want you to start thinking about, what is that piece? And don't come up with something new. Come up with something that you've already come up with. So maybe it was an email that you sent last year, and you're really proud of it, right? Or a blog post from 3 years ago that you just thought was so fantastic. Why didn't anyone read it? Or maybe it's an Instagram post that you look through your Instagram analytics, and this post just got so much likes and comments and saves, and you want to repurpose that. You want to capture that kind of attention again. So revisit those ideas and let's zhuzh them up. And again, please look back at what you've done and pull it out of storage, dust it off. Let's share it again. We're wanting to make the most of your efforts. So when you put in a ton of effort into a piece of content, you're really proud of it, right? But the quality and pride aren't all that's required for success. So there are all kinds of unseen factors that can really affect how well content pieces perform. And sometimes your brilliant idea goes unnoticed. And that is such a bummer. It's happened to me before too. So repurposing that content ensures that your audience who maybe missed that epic blog post for the first time around have a chance of seeing it for round 2, or perhaps a different version, or round 10, or round 11. It's a second chance at content promotion. Okay, so how exactly do we repurpose content efficiently? I'm going to dive in and go through this in general terms, and then I'm going to show some examples. I personally love examples. It helps me really formulate my own ideas. So we'll then, make sure you're referencing your worksheet as we move through and jot down your notes. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start with a big content piece or a long form content, ones that have a lot of information in them, such as a blog post or an email. They can also be a really long social media post too. Those are sort of like, you want to think of them as content boulders. They're big, and we're going to break that big boulder up into tinier little pebbles. So we're creating smaller pieces of content out of a big piece of content. Okay, so have you downloaded that freebie yet? That worksheet? We've got the worksheet that goes along with this. This is going to be a really helpful thing because you can check mark each repurposing idea as we move through. So make sure you've downloaded that. And have you got that old piece of content in mind? So let's go through this. I'm going to walk you through how to break apart the long form content idea and all the different ways you can repurpose it. I'll also show you how to take a small idea and build it out bigger. So we're going to go one way, but then we're going to go back the other way, because I know not everyone blogs, and I know not everyone maybe posts social media posts. So I'm trying to cover everyone. So let's start with this as a pretty obvious long form type content, a blog post. They range from 800 to 2,000 words, and you can post this on your website. Obviously, you can guest blog, either be a guest or invite a guest to come and add to a blog that you already have posted. And you can, partner with someone to post a new blog post. But listen, if you've already written it and you know someone in your network that would add some value to that blog, why not invite them in, have them add a couple of paragraphs, and now you can repost the same blog. And that was barely any work on your part, right? I once had a colleague just add her knowledge to 3 of my posts, and I was able to, or my blog posts, and I was able to republish those. And then she republished them to her audience. And so it got way more reach than I ever would have gotten. Another way you can kind of repurpose blog posts is recording it as a vlog, or on YouTube. You can record the blog post as a video, walking people through, the steps or whatever you wrote in the blog post. And of course, you can repost it to LinkedIn. They're called articles over there. You can post it on Medium, which is another blog platform. You can find other blog platforms that are specific to your industry. I do know there's some that are specific to mental health and wellness that I've had clients repost their blog posts to. And also, you can pitch the blog that you've written. You can pitch that sort of idea that you wrote in it as a podcast guest on different podcasts where it fits. And you can just go back through the blog and the ideas that you had in there and talk about that. So you can take that blog post and now you can turn it into a series of nurture emails, because usually blogs are really long. Emails don't need to be that long. So let's say you wrote a blog post on, the 5 best tips for running. Well, that could be broken apart into 5 different emails, and you can say, hey, over the next 5 weeks, I'm going to share the best tips for running efficiently. And each email now has one tip that you elaborate just a little bit on. You can also take a series of blogs, maybe, that you have written and combine it to be a guidebook or an ebook. So now past blog posts that you've written can be combined into an ebook that you now turn around. You can give it away. You can sell it. There's some ways to make money on that kind of thing. And you can also let me switch this around and have you think about this. If you've written a series of emails, turn those into a blog, or turn those series of emails into an ebook that you can now put as a long form. So it goes both ways. So webinars, if you've ever done a webinar, there's so much good content in there. I can't even, the one like I'm doing right now, right? This can be repurposed, obviously, as a video tutorial. I could post pieces of this on YouTube. I could post the whole thing on YouTube. You can also sell them on your website like I do. And after enough are created, I can create a bundle package and maybe sell a bundle of here's, the top 5 marketing tips, all in video right here. You can also turn your slides into an instructional PDF download. You usually mix with a little copy and a little imagery. Why not just add a little more copy? And now you've got an instructional PDF download or an ebook. If you want to call it an ebook, you can have it as, pieces of your webinar as a freebie. You can, if you're heavy into the visuals on your webinar, you could do a infograph. You could do a few infographics. You could do a bunch of infographics. And that could be fun to either post or have as just some resources to download on your website. Okay. So you might be saying, all right. I don't really blog. I don't really send out a ton of emails. So let's flip this around and look at it from social media sort of perspective. So let's say you often put a lot of thought into your social media posts and the post copy ends up being pretty long. And maybe it's not that long, but it could be long. You could probably have more to say, but there's not room and it won't let you on social media. So we can work backwards from that piece of content and pull the copy from your social media post, drop it into an email, expand on it just a little bit, boom, you're done. You can even repurpose the image that you used on social media. Maybe you just, have like, if it's a carousel, you could drop the different carousels in, break it apart with some copy. And now you've got a really good email or a blog post. And you can also turn a couple of social media posts, if you did a series, into a email series. You could turn it into a long form blog post or even a webinar. Like, look back through what was something that people really responded to on your social media. And maybe that is something you can turn into a webinar. So, we're taking a big boulder, we broke it out into smaller pieces, smaller rocks. And now we're taking these smaller rocks and piling them on top of each other to make a big boulder again. So repurposing old social media can be so easy. I really recommend going back through and seeing what received really high engagement and then reworking that content and updating it and then reposting it. No one is going to notice that you have just created a post and posted it from something that you posted a month ago or 2 months ago, or even honestly a week ago. And taking that old piece of content and repurposing takes about, 1 minute and you can move on with your life. Okay. So I want to take a microscope to social media for just a second, because there are a ton of opportunities to rework just whatever content you posted on there back onto the same platforms, right? We've got I wrote these 7, but of course now there's threads and, there's always something popping up. So I'm just going to focus on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So Instagram, we've got one image post, and you could turn that into a potential video post, same content. You could turn it into a reel. You could turn it into an IGTV, a stories. You could go live with this content and talk about it for about 10 minutes and talk about that piece of content. You can partner with someone and go live with them, ask them questions. So there's 6 ways you can take one piece of Instagram post that you did and rework the same content in different ways. And Facebook, we have same thing, image post. You could do a video post. You could do stories. You could go live. And it can be the same thing that you posted over there on Instagram too. And LinkedIn is, you could do the image posts, the video posts, of course. And then you can also repurpose your blog into an article. And so you can post that and get some legs on that. Okay, so these are even deeper dives, so hang on tight. And this is taking things that you have already done and using them in different ways. And this is things that you might not think about as content pieces, but you can absolutely make them as content pieces. So, I went through that very basic level of repurposing on social media platforms, but really the content that you develop within there has another level of repurposing. So, um, internal data can be, and what I'm talking about is like, oh wow, my client had this really cool success story, or my own website seeing this growth, what's going on there, or any kind of internal data that you keep track of for not just your own company but your clients. So you could turn those into case studies, and case studies can then turn into blog posts, or information to put on your website. You can send out emails of these client success stories. You can post on social media the client success stories and these case studies. If you make them really pretty, it could be an infograph. And then, of course, testimonials can go all over the place, social media, on your website, and emails. We purpose those everywhere. And then we have Instagram Live. And if you do any Instagram Lives, you can turn that into a blog post. So get what you said and create blog posts. You can create email series. You can also turn around and pitch some of those ideas to podcasts that are relevant and that fit. And then if you have done some blog email series, you can turn those into a online course that you sell, resources on, a resource hub on your website if you want to give some for free or some that you charge. So think through maybe a series that you've done, even if it's on social media, and think through, okay, can I turn this into an online course? Is this something people would want to, pay and learn and move through for themselves? Okay. So let's see it in action. I love actual examples. So let's head here. This is a blog post I found, 20-minute flow for beginners, dot, dot, dot. She has a video, 20-minute flow for yoga for beginners, right? As you scroll down, you can see she intros it a little bit, which is great. And then she has 4 tips, yoga tips for beginners. So that's important. There's going to be 4 tips that she has in this one blog post, along with her video that she is also sharing. So what can she do with that blog post? Well, she can post it on her website. She can also reach out to um, other bloggers. Let's say there's someone who's like, oh, what to eat before you do yoga. And she's like, that's a great blog post. Can I supplement that and say, and here's 4 tips to, perfect your yoga pose? She can also do a video, which she kind of did. She had that video that she supplemented with the blog post. And she could take this and post it on LinkedIn, Medium. I'm sure this is, yeah, well and good. I think this is a space for people to post blog posts too. So she posted on a third party. She can turn those 4 tips into 4 emails. She can do one email, of course, but she can also break it apart and say, hey, this month we're going to focus on perfecting the yoga pose. And I'm going to start with this one tip. And then she does each tip each week, right? Then, even further, she can post an image. She can create for one tip. That's all. Just for the one tip. She can create an image. She can create a video post. She can create a reel. She can go live with that. She can pop it up into stories. And here's an example of what that might look like. So the first tip is get comfortable with being on your hands. So this was her tip. This is directly out of her or her blog post. So she's talking about, what to do, how to do your alignment, how your fingers need to stay spread, where to align your wrists, that kind of thing. So here's a post that we did, static post. The number one complaint I hear from my yoga clients is my wrist makes some of the poses too painful to do. If you've experienced that, here's how you align it. So we pulled the tips of alignment right here. Boom, boom. And keep those tips in mind when you're first beginning yoga. But we also created a video. So here's a video, and it's the same kind of content, just done differently. So it feels a little different, but it's still saying the same thing. And that's kind of how you can take one thing and sort of rejudge it and turn it into multiples. I mean, you can take one piece of content and this can be turned into 20 plus different posts. So, some examples from my actual clients, and I say these things because I think it might be helpful for you to think outside the box and think through, what do you have that you can do right now to save yourself time, money, and heartache. So this is my first client, Sasha. I usually work with clients for their overall marketing plan, right? So social media, email marketing, website, online reputation, and their marketing funnels, things like that. So repurposing content that already exists is, just, well, let's weave it through all the different marketing tactics and bring it all together. So Sasha is a busy business owner, like we all are. So she sells merchandise. And her goal when we began working together was to increase by 25%. She had a big email list, but she was emailing them only 2 times a month because she didn't want to sell to them weekly. She wanted to space out her email so she didn't, get too many unsubscribes. She also had been blogging for like 7 years, which is inconsistently too. I'm impressed. It's crazy. So we decided we needed to go back to blog post number 1, and then blog post number 2, and then blog post number 3. You get the idea. We went all the way back 7 years to her very first blog post. And I wanted her to take that blog post, rejudge it, update it, and repurpose it. So she started putting in these blog posts into the emails as a personal share, if they were, or tips and things like that, with some soft sell. So we also wanted her to actually increase her emails to weekly. And I know that feels really scary, but with the nurturing and with pulling in old content that she just had to rejudge, and maybe if the blog post had to do with some of the merch she was selling, there was a soft sell. We wanted to tie some of her merch in there with the email, but we didn't want to oversell her merch either. It had to be an authentic fit. And a lot of the times it turned out to be an authentic fit, quite honestly. So she started to lean heavily into nurturing her list, less salesy, and increased her emails weekly. She saw no increase in unsubscribes and a product increased sales of over 37%. She became relatable to her clients and they liked hearing her personal stories. They liked reading her blog posts. She's a mom, entrepreneur, podcaster, so she does it all. But she also didn't struggle with spending time having to write new blog posts or new content every week because she just pulled her old stuff. And at the end of it, if she gets to the end of all those 7 years of blog posts, she can go back to the number 1. Okay, so Jennifer is an artist. She's a designer. She also went on a journey of van life and started building a van to go live in. And she completely rebuilt it and made it a livable space. So now she travels around sharing her build story, her travels, and other things. Needless to say, she has a ton of content, like a ton of content, beautiful pictures, amazing scenery, but she doesn't have a blog. She doesn't have an email list. She's just purely social media. So because she's an artist, she's a designer, she's a photographer, she's being very careful not to repeat any content at all, like at all, very, very cognizant of it. And it was stressing her out to always be striving to never repeat herself, making sure she hadn't posted things already. So after talking with her, we got the idea that she can take those amazing pictures, because whoa, stellar, right? And rework them into different ways. So she used one in a reel. So a reel, mixed with some video, she would flash up a stellar picture that she already had used, and it's okay. So it would be a single still shot in this video in her post. Now she's actually able to get more content out there because she's not stressing about, oh my God, have I used this before? And scrolling back and making sure she hadn't. She's reusing content, which is still amazing and beautiful. And she's even been featured on, I think, 5 featured accounts with over 1 million followers. And guess what? 3 of those featured accounts use the same main hero shot of her van on the inside with like a beautiful mountain scenery. I mean, you can imagine. So the with millions of followers, 3 of them use the exact same photo. Yet, I mean, it's not like people unfollowed her because they're like, oh, we've seen that before. It actually gravitated people to her even more. And it kind of all went viral. She gained around 650 followers in like a day from those featured accounts. It was pretty amazing. Uh, and then lastly, client number 3, Sarah. So she had a bunch of old blog posts and some she'd written, quite a few guest blogs too, which is awesome. So after some strategizing, she began to dig into what she had written, right? She pulled out that content and she got to work. So we decided that she could repurpose the blog post into social media and email marketing. And bonus, all those guest bloggers she could tag when she posted what they had talked about in their blog post and gain extra engagement, which is wonderful. So she knocked out about 6 months worth of content in 4 hours. I am not even kidding, you guys. She killed it. And that includes copy and the social media image because she just used a template. She just swapped out whatever photo she wanted to. So she had the templates already set up. She just copy and pasted the content. Boom, she was done. So that's kind of it for repurposing content. There's so much to it. Thank you again for being here and moving through this. And I want to emphasize you're not going to bust out of here being perfect. This is all takes practice. It all takes reminding yourself, oh, yeah, I can repurpose this. Oh, yeah, I can do this in this way, or I can do this in that way. Be patient with yourself. And please don't think that just because you posted it once, you can't post it again. So once again, my name is Christina Curry. I'm the founder and CEO of Sprout Creative LA. And you can find us over on Instagram or shoot me an email at info@sproutcreativela.com. I'm happy to help you brainstorm and explore other ways of repurposing.